What's up, brother? It's your boy, Mike Muse. Welcome back. That was such a fantastic conversation we just had with the executive director of the Illinois Legislative Caucus Foundation. She gave us incredible insight on what is happening in the state of Illinois, what is happening in the city of Chicago from the political space. I guess I feel a little bit better about what could be possible in Chicago. As you know, I came into that conversation defeated. I felt like there was nothing that can be done around helping Chicago, right? And, you know me, I'm always a glass that is half full. I'm never a glass that's half empty. And what she demonstrated was that it is possible. We just need to focus more on community-based organizations to make sure they are fully funded, to make sure that we can help stop the killings of our youth within Chicago, employment, housing, all the things that the city of Chicago is facing. So that being said, listen, The Chi, I kept referencing that during the entire time. It is back on Showtime. It is back badder than ever. And when I was interviewing Tiffany, I was so excited that Joel Steingold was going to be coming up next, because Joel, as you can see, for those who may not, who can see us, know him from The Chi. But those who are listening to us, Joel is currently on The Chi, and he's playing a fantastic role and character. And his character kind of reminds me of Tiffany. It's this wheeling and dealing. It's this negotiation. It's endorsing candidates, right? The city of New York, we're currently going through a mayoral race right now, and everybody's vying for everyone's endorsement on who to select. And for me, Joel kind of, his character represents some of that, the maneuvering and the wheeling and the dealing that goes on behind politics. So let me stop talking about him as if he is not here, and let me bring him into the conversation. The one and only, the fantastic actor, and I'm going to say thespian, I believe there's a difference, Joel Steingold. What's happening, Joel?
What's happening, everybody? The Mike Muse Show. I'm so happy to be here.
Dude, we're excited to have you. First of all, audience, and those of us who are watching can see, I mean, Joel has coordinated his glassware with like the accessories in the crib. It's like matching the lamp, it's matching the mirror on the wardrobe.
You know, Steingold, you got that gold that's just naturally in there. I'm just, making sure I follow my namesake. That's all.
And you're doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel's a friend, full disclosure. I've known Joel for, I'm not even gonna say the number of years, but it's been a very long time.
Yeah, and you told me you still have my pager number.
Bruh, your pager number. I was like, why do I have this 1-877 number underneath Joel as his pager? That's how
that is like the technological version of carbon dating.
Like literally, like bruh,
like we can carbon date, look at the carbon amount, and we can trace it to this Paleozoic era. But if you have somebody's pager number, like, we can trace you back.
That is it. And that is how I can trace back with Joel. Joel is a fantastic actor. I mean, just wanted to say before we start getting to the conversation, the interview, how proud I am of you to watch your journey from all those years ago to see where you are. Audience, for lately, all my guests has been some through point of a positive story, sticking in there, tenacity, pivots. Joel, we need more time than we're going to have today to really tell his story. But Joel never gave up. And Joel right now is probably one of the most in-demand actors I see. Joel's always popping up on my TV during commercials, doing football games, basketball games. I don't see him. I hear his fantastic voice, voiceover work. I see him in shows and series. And Joel, let me tell you, I was talking to an actor friend earlier, so we're just talking about our days. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be interviewing Joel Steingold. She went crazy. She was like, what? You know Joel? I was like, yeah. No, I'm dead ass.
You are doing what the children call putting extras on it, Mr. B.
Yeah, no.
No.
She was like, yo, his career is insane, right? And so she's been very impressed by you, man. So I hope at the end of this conversation, I can borrow $5 from Joel because he got money, particularly those McDonald's voiceover commercials. So we'll get going. Joel, what's happening?
What's happening? Good morning. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
So happy to be here. I'm in Chicago now. You said on The Chi. We're shooting The Chi. We're in the middle of shooting episode 9 of this week. And then next week and then the week following, we'll be shooting the finale. I wish I could tell you what happened. Watch the season.
Yeah, but before we do that, Joe, I wanted to talk about, and look, I don't want you to get into politics whatsoever, but ladies and gentlemen, I'm from Lansing, Michigan. Joel is from Detroit. pretty much the same. I believe Midwest politics is very different, but the city of Detroit is a majority minority city. You've seen your fair share of different mayors that has come through the city of Detroit. Chicago also too has that. I don't know if it's exactly majority minority, but it's a very Black city, population city. Have you been able to see similarities in the politics? Just as an observer, no analysis, just as an observer of Detroit politics versus Chicago politics. I feel like sometimes we just focus on like major cities like New York, LA, Atlanta politics, but we don't really get into like those Midwest cities. But for me, that is the heart of America, right? That is, when you think about middle America, you think about Detroit, Chicago.
Yeah, I think one thing that's really special about, cities like Detroit, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, these are major places where the Great Migration led, so many folks of African ancestry to a land of more promise. And Chicago is a huge connection with the Great Migration, as well as Detroit. So there's something special about that, you know what I mean? And I feel like it lends itself to the political realm as well, because you have this huge number of folks of African ancestry who moved up to Chicago and to Detroit and settled in different communities, and how those communities were affected politically and socially has a lot to do with the DNA and the fabric of these places. And so I think it's no mystery why you see some similarities when it comes to social services, community support, crime prevention, and social programs to keep young people, on a track that's headed towards something more fulfilling. You see similarities in cities like Detroit and Chicago because of things that were done wrong, some things that were done right. So I think it's hard to remove the very, seminal event of the Great Migration from politics. They kind of go together. You can kind of trace it back and see, well, these folks didn't get community support. They didn't get, access to real estate, generational wealth. So these are some of the outcomes that we see now.
I'm smiling so much though when you talk about the Great Northern Migration audience. If you recall, just only 7 days ago, Joel Too Short was on the Mike Muse show, and that's exactly what he was talking about, the Great Migration. Right. We were talking about the migration patterns going from the South and how they went to the Midwest, but he and I were talking about how they also not only go to the Midwest, but as you know, Joel, they went to LA, they went to Oakland. There's so many infusions of Southern cuisine and Creole that is like in Oakland and in Los Angeles. And I was telling Too Short that being from the Midwest, I'm curious to see your thoughts on this before we get back into the Chi. Being from the Midwest, I felt we were free agents. I felt like we could have went East Coast rap or West Coast rap, right? And so I ended up getting introduced through hip hop via West Coast. So I fell in love with West Coast rap before I fell in love with East Coast rap. And for me, it was because I felt like, not that I could relate to either coast in terms of what they were rapping about, but I felt more like the West Coast was more normal, I guess, of some of the stories, where the East Coast rappers in New York, they just led such a different lifestyle that was just beyond me, right? And so what was your thought? What coast did you fall in love with first before we get back to the side? West or East?
I fell in love with East Coast rap first. And I don't know why. I mean, I've always loved New York, but I think it was the colloquialism, the accent of brothers from New York, I found so intriguing. If you look at the accent from cats from Detroit and cats from LA or on the West Coast, Oakland, it's kind of similar, has this Southern twang to it that still exists. And the language in New York is very different. It's a major departure from how brothers in Detroit talk. So I think I've always been interested in like accents and how people speak. So I think I was probably attracted to it just because there was this whole different language, not only just the ways New Yorkers sound, but some of the slang and the language that they use, like the sun language, you know what I'm saying? And part of it, the language is so theatrical. Like if you listen to I remember Wu-Tang had this one interlude, dude was talking about wallabies as if he was talking about changing the entire economy of his neighborhood. He was just so emphatic. So I think he was like, yo, son, you gotta get the blue pair, right? And I'm gonna do the different laces, you know what I'm saying? Like he's just talking about shoes. But it was very gravitational. So if I had to break it out, I think that's why I was attracted to it.
But I think that speaks to, so for me, it's what you were saying about it sounded the same. It was familiar, it was Southern, it was country, right? It was kind of how we sound in Detroit and Lansing and Michigan, Black men. But for you, because you were so intrigued by acting and you are a thespian and you do incredible voiceover work, no wonder you were attuned to like the nuance of the voice, the language, the slang, the style and delivery, which is why you're such a great thespian. The Chi. Why do you think, or how, not why, how do you think the Chi, as you know, Joel, for me, pop culture, I believe, moderates social construct and discourse. I think it holds up a mirror to society. And I think that's why I love shows like The Chi. You know, how do you think of The Chi as moderating our current discourse that we're having right now in America?
Well, I think it's a coming of age story. The Chi is a coming of age story. You know, you see these young characters, you know, Papa, Jake, Kevin, growing up and navigating inner city life, navigating education choices, navigating family choices. I think that is something that is just a constant theme and universal for all children, no matter what, you know, background they come from. So I think that is definitely something that reflects what we see in normal life. We are dealing with this season, the defunding the police potentially. And how we can move forward in a more equitable way, in a more just way, and how Black communities especially have a relationship with the police. So that's something we're dealing with. And I can't give away too much in a very head-on way, you know, and we provide a creative hypothetical story on what if we did this or what if we did that. So I feel like we're definitely really approaching the relationship between Black people and the police in the inner city in a very direct way this season. So I can't talk too much about it, but you will see it definitely start to play out. I believe episode 2, if you watch this Sunday, episode 2, we really get into the kind of the bone marrow of what could happen if a city decided to make some drastic changes when it comes to the relationship between Black folks and police.
How is it with you playing this role? Because you know, sometimes we always looked at art as escapism. But what I'm noticing now is, not just with The Chi, but so many other creative properties, I feel like art is mirroring life, life is mirroring art in a very direct way, right? And so
and almost
as
real
an
time,
actor,
almost real time.
In real time, like, does that enhance the acting for you? Because, you know, you guys always have to go within or find some type of inspiration to play these characters, but you see it every day playing out in court, on social media, on Twitter, on dialogues, right? Like, so how has this impacted you as an actor playing these roles on shows that are so close to real life?
Yeah, well, I think it helps because I'm in constant conversations with, you know, friends, family members, sometimes strangers especially about what can be done on a community level to create more justice, you know, for Black and brown people. And so some of those conversations are conversations that my character's name is Marcus St. John on the show. He has conversations about that, about, you know, the relationship between the economy and the Black community, because my character is definitely, you know, a little more affluent. You know, his family on the show established one of the first Black banks in Chicago. So he comes from wealth. And so he has conversations about how we can use wealth and job building to uplift the Black community. And those are conversations that I've had with people, you know what I mean? Because it's a, you know, it's a multi-pronged approach, I feel like, you know, to try to solve the ills that have affected the Black community. You know what I mean? It is jobs, it's social programs, it's education, it's family life, it's spiritual connection, church life, it's so many things. So having those conversations in real life, and then having my character have similar conversations on the show, it is a unique experience for an actor to be able to pull from conversations that I may have had days before or weeks before. It's very, very much at the surface.
What I love about The Chi, in particular your character, is that it shows the range of Blackness. And I think your character, is a great symbol of that spectrum of Blackness and what that looks like. And I love the fact that he has a Nest in his crib. And so with the video monitoring system, I think that's amazing. Joe, I can talk to you all day. That means you just have to come back to the Mike Muse Show. But before I go, I want to know, how has playing this character, how has being on The Chi, how have you thought differently about Chicago, right? Like, what were your thoughts of Chicago and what we hear on TV, right? Versus now you're actually immersed, not only just shooting there, but actually playing out storylines of scenarios that are happening in Chicago.
So yeah, I'm trying to think. First, my impression of Chicago, I only spent a little bit of time here before I started shooting the show, but I've definitely found a beautiful love for the city and the people. Just having conversations with people on the street. There's a part of it that reminds me so much of Detroit. I always call Chicago and Detroit like it's my Midwest cousin. Chicago's like my Midwest cousin. It's like a 4-hour drive, but I feel a little bit more connected to, life in Chicago. Like before I spent a lot of time here, Black folks lived on South Side. I thought the South Side was the hood, and that is very far from the truth. There is, some of the old school hood in South Side, but then you also got the West Side, and you have areas that are being gentrified in both areas. So I found that to be the most interesting. I'm like, oh, I know comments from South Side. The Chi is about the South Side of Chicago, but yeah, Black folks are all over the city in a large number. So I think that's one thing that I definitely learned and appreciated, just to see, I feel like that's one thing in Black culture. We have a what side of town you from type of thing. Detroit is East Side, West Side. Chicago is South Side versus West Side type of thing. So I always find that interesting to see the kind of like neighborhood social dynamic of Black folks in different cities. So yeah, I've definitely appreciated getting to know the people of Chicago more.
Well, Joe, I think that is a great way to end this conversation on the people of Chicago, right? And really look at The Chi as such a great human interest story. I think a lot of times as we listen about the events that are happening in real life in Chicago, we forget the human interest. We forget that these are people. And while sometimes, Joe, we forget the commonality that we all do have, although it's a different region of the country. How much similar experiences that we all share just in our uniqueness or Blackness of our DNA that you were talking about earlier when you talked about the Great Northern Migration. Ladies and gentlemen, you see why I love Joel Steingold. You see why he is so dope, an incredible actor that he is, because he brings so much to the character, to his role, and just to life. Joel lives life to the fullest. And I think that's why he definitely picked up on Chicago as a human interest story. Make sure you tune in to The Chi on Showtime every Sunday. You will not be disappointed. Joel, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you. 9 p.m., 8 Central on Showtime every Sunday.
Always in promotion mode. Ladies and gentlemen, stay right there. We'll be right back.